Welcome to the greenhouse at Shortgrass. So we get a lot of questions about how is the greenhouse doing, how is everything growing. I wanted to walk you guys through some of the progress that you haven't seen, as well as some of the equipment and sort of the guts of the greenhouse itself. So we have our little steampunk sculpture that we built in season 2. And what we've added is this English ivy that is very, very happy in the greenhouse. It's sort of a moist spot back here in the corner with the water going. And this ivy, we're training to go up over this giant gear. One of the other questions we got about what is the gear. So this came out of Pete Leans. They're our concrete provider. But this gear came out of one of their kilns and it was worn out. You can see the teeth are sort of real beat up. And it ended up in the scrapyard. So we went and got it and put it in here, and it's sort of the frame for our steampunk piece. So this is one of the things that was so fun for me in this. Not only did I get to build this for my wife, for Rachel, but I got to add a little bit of my touch. This is what makes me happy, and this is sort of my happy place, is to take treasures and junk and things and turn them into something different. And I just want to give you a little walkthrough on how everything's doing now, including the trellises that we planted and some of the plants that are doing well and some of the plants that are struggling inside, and the learning curve that is having a botanical greenhouse. So come check it out. So this is Arabian jasmine. So these are all little jasmine flowers, the white flowers all the way across. So this is the main ingredient in jasmine tea. If you remember when we went to Scotchman Industries out in Phillips, South Dakota, and we got that whole pallet of skeletons, this is one of them. So this is what we use them for. It's a trellis, and we have some in different parts of the greenhouse. But this jasmine loves it in here. We have trimmed it back, we've trained it over the top, it's gone up this way, but all of these are new shoots. Just super, super prolific, and I wish you could smell this thing. It is amazing. It's very, very floral in here. And the air, it's very humid, but it's also very oxygenated in here, which is great. So jasmine's one of my favorite things. So one of the adventures that we've had with this greenhouse is learning how to grow year-round. All my gardening experience in South Dakota and all our harsh weather is you start something from seed, you grow it until Mother Nature says you're done growing it, and then you scrap it and start again. So for us to learn how to grow tomatoes year-round, year after year, indeterminate tomatoes, and just keep pruning them and letting them grow. Basil, what do you do with a bumper crop of greens and chives and things like that? So the chef has put a lot of effort into preservation and things that we've done for the restaurant, things we've done for our own home. And it's just a constant learning cycle over the last couple of years. But it is a beast of a unit. This greenhouse, to be able to produce all this food and all these things year round in our climate, is awesome. We've had to put some systems in place to make that feasible, but they're all pretty low entry systems, low consumption of electricity. As you guys have seen, the greenhouse is on a backup solar, so that way if we do lose grid electricity, which we have, our fans, our pumps, and our things don't stop working. So let me show you this passion fruit over here. Roof of the greenhouse is a polycarbonate product. You guys saw us put that on in the episode, but what we added later was this shade cloth. We figured out pretty early in the summer that this building gets really, really, really hot, and managing the temperature is one of the biggest struggles that we have. Even though we're bermed into the ground and we're highly, highly insulated, managing sort of the spikes of temperature swing. But there's things in here that should not be growing in South Dakota, including passion fruit. So we have these beautiful blooms coming on, and there'll be fruit in no time. We even have grapes growing in the greenhouse. So the very cool thing about this that we sort of didn't anticipate when we built it was not only growing the food and having just this zen-like space with the water fountain and the beautiful smells and all the things, was the function of producing things for the kitchen, but also producing things for the ground. So we have big potted plants that live on the decks of the bungalows, out in front of the restaurant, down on the dock by the river. And those are very, very expensive to buy if you buy them every year. So we propagate all of the cuttings from last year into new plants and then put all new pots together. And we use this front part of the greenhouse to do that. But we have begonias, we have figs that are producing, we have lemons, we have limes. The chef did key lime tart, a little key lime little pie the other day out of key limes that we grew in the greenhouse. And so just overall, it's been such a fun experiment to be inside, and some things work, some things don't. And it's really fun with the successes. Of course, sad when there's a failure, but that's just a learning thing for us, and we get to learn what works and what doesn't. I do want to take you outside and show you a couple of the things that are the heart of the mechanical, of how the inside of this works, from the heat source and cooling, just to some of the backup electricity and things like that. So let's head outside, check out our wood boiler. So this is our wood boiler. So this thing essentially is a giant wood stove, okay, with 500 gallons of water wrapped around the part where the firebox is, the actual part. So that fire, the wood fire that we load into this chamber, heats the water up to about 180 degrees, and there's a pump down here that just cycles it through, And then once the temperature drops, the fire kicks back up, heats it back up, and it just does that all day. We load it about once a day. And this is what we use to manage the really, really cold months here in South Dakota for our big greenhouse, which is a workhorse for sure. So I showed you the wood boiler, the central boiler that we have outside, and that is what actually heats the water to about 180 degrees. And then the pump outside pumps that through this. So what this is a hydronic setup, a hydronic or in-floor heat setup. And we have it doing a couple different things for us. So if you remember that big Thermopex, it's a big insulated pipe, that 4-inch green pipe that we laid underground, that's where this comes out, right here. So if you think about this as an interstate loop, right? A loop around a big city with different exits. The water comes out of the boiler through this loop. We have a temperature gauge, pressure gauge, all that. It comes back around, goes back into it. So it's just a big loop. That's all it does. It just circulates all the time. So from there, this little guy, this little switching relay, tells me where it wants the heat to go, right? So we have two setups. That's why you see two pumps. This pump runs this unit. So what this is a giant radiator inside with a blower fan, a squirrel cage fan behind it, pushing air across hot coils through a flexible duct, and that's how we heat the greenhouse in the winter, the main body of the greenhouse. So this is a very cool setup. There's a company called Modine that we worked with. This was an experiment. This is not a production unit. They wanted us to use it and see how it worked. I'm happy to report it worked fantastic. It runs 24 hours a day, even when it's not. We shut it off for this video so you didn't have to hear the fan, but it keeps this ductwork inflated, which just helps circulate air. The second system that we have is this one that pumps from this track through these manifolds. And what that does is that goes into the floor, the concrete floor, and there's loops of heating of a PEX, it's called, PEX pipe, through the floor and then comes back. So the concrete in the airlock room, when the boiler is running, is heated to 75 degrees, which helps keep that room a little extra warm. So this is a sort of very fun, it makes my steampunk sort of heart happy to look at this. We had a local plumber help us out with this, Chris from Central Air. They came in and did a fantastic job. And yeah, so this is all controlled. I can control it wirelessly. I can control the thermostats wirelessly. And it's a very cool setup. So really happy with it. So the reason that we chose a soft duct was for a couple reasons. We didn't want traditional metal ducting to rust. So we went with this antimicrobial soft duct. It is sort of made out of a thick canvas like tents are, like event tents would be made out of. So cool. So we talked about the hydronic heating in the floor that helps keep this room warm in the really, really cold parts of the winter, but we also installed a mini split, so an air source heat pump, which is the unit up on the wall. That will also heat, but it'll also air condition this little room. We don't use it to cool the main body of the greenhouse, just the working space where we have meetings and the staff hang out. So we talk a lot about knowing a guy, and sometimes admittedly I take for granted sort of the network of people that I have around me. I never thought I would get questions about this sink, but I got a lot of questions about this sink. This was not a commercial thing. I did not order this from a catalog. We had this custom made for us. It is 15 feet long, one piece, all completely made to our specs. So Brian over at PSP, Pacific Stainless, here in Spearfish, made this for me. This is what they do. They've cut crazy stair treads for art studios for us and our stargazer pipes and the fence panels at the pool. They are wildly, wildly skilled craftsmen over there. And this was made specifically for us, specifically for the greenhouse. And it has been such a savior. Literally having one basin half full of loofahs. The next day will be lettuce and basil, and the other one will just be washing off pots and things that we're cleaning up, and tools, different hand tools and things. So this has been amazing. So one of the very fun things that I was able to grow in here was a loofah, like a loofah sponge like you have in the shower. Most people don't realize that this is a gourd. So here is the loofah. So that's what the inside of this, those are seeds. That's what the inside of this looks like. So if you've ever been to the store and you see like the scrubby, like shower loofahs, or they're on a stick for your back, that's what this is. And this is literally just a gourd. So we dry all these out. We keep the seeds for more gourds. So in this airlock space, this room, we do a couple different things. You can see we have flats of flowers, we propagate things. This is the germination chamber. So this is actually an old wine fridge that just has a little aquarium heater and a bucket of water in it that just keeps it warm and moist inside there to help germinate seeds faster. But this is a grow tent for mushrooms. So we have an employee, Ian, on site that I call Buttons, and he grows cultivated mushrooms inside this little tent, as well as harvests them locally out in the wild. So right now he just finished a flush of gray oyster mushrooms and lion's mane mushrooms that the chef is using for a meal actually tonight. So the biggest gift, I think, for us is to have this space that we can grow all kinds of different food, including things that should not grow in South Dakota. We have lemons and limes and passion fruit and some herbs that aren't even supposed to grow here. So I love coming here every day, no matter what the weather is, warm or cold outside. And it's just immediately relaxed. The smell of everything, picking things off the plant, strawberries, tomatoes, you name it. And the fun part for me is to be able to use this as an experiment, to spend time in here with Sprout and Rachel. And just grow things. So one of these days I'm gonna make a little jasmine tea. Maybe we'll make a video about that. Have the best day ever, guys.